Hello children, I hope you all are good. Today I am going to discuss the very interesting topic of geography, that is the resources and development and resource, natural and human. So in this chapter we are going to discuss about the different resources which we found in our nature and what is the role of human, how we become the human resources. So let's start the chapter with a great energy. What is resource? See, resources are the material which are found in the nature, and to become the resource there should be some quality. Number one, the thing should present in the nature, then only it can become the resource. Number two, it should be satisfy any human need. If the thing is not going to satisfy any human need, it will not become the resource. After that, economically it should be feasible. We should have money to convert that thing into the resource. Then technologically accessible hona chahiye. That thing should develop into the resource by the proper technology, and it will match with the national development. So overall these quality when there, then the thing can become the resource. A country's collective means of supports are called resources. So these means essential to support life, economic development, etc. So here we are going to learn about the different kind of resource. See beta, when we have to convert the thing into the resource, what we need? We need the skills. We need the knowledge, we need the technology. Otherwise, we cannot convert anything into the resource if we don't have a knowledge how to use it. We don't have a technology, what process are there to convert them into the useful things, and our skills. These things are collectively going to convert the thing into the valuable thing that is known as resources. Now we use certain resources in its original form like air. Earlier men lived in forests like all other animals. He used animals and wild plants in the continuing process. But now these days what happened? With the proper process we are converting the thing according to our utilization. Now see how human add value to the resources. See beta, resources can be defined as a collective means to satisfy the human requirement. Until and unless the things are not going to satisfy our needs, any requirement of the human, they cannot be termed as resources. Either directly or by applying some human skills or human technology or human process, we can convert the thing into the resource according to our utilization. So this discloses that human beings play a vital role to convert the thing into the resources. Or you can say the human is only who is going to add the value to the resources. See gold. Who is using the gold? The cow is not wearing the gold. Any animals is wearing the gold? No. Any mountain is wearing the gold. So gold is having the importance because the human being is wearing it. So now you have to understand that human add the value to the resources. Human beings, due to their skill, they add many values, whatever they require. Most of the natural resource become very useful only when the value is added to them. Now what type of value we are discussing here? What type of value we want in the resource? 4 kinds of value that we need to add to attach with the resources. Number 1, legal value, economic, then aesthetic, and after that ethical value. These 4 value beta you have to learn, and this should be added with the thing to become the more good resource. And these 4 value adding bring the resources to developed or usable things. Otherwise thing remain untouched. It is at this stage that resources command a price. For instance, for example, iron ore, such we have no economic value to an ordinary user. What we will do with the iron ore? But when we are going to convert the iron ore into the usable iron things, then it is having the great demand, then it is having a price, then it is having the value in the market. Otherwise you and me don't know what is the iron ore and where and how it has to be used. We don't know. But when we are using the technology, when we are using the skill, when we are using the proper process, then it converts into the iron. Now see, iron is having the lots of uses in our daily life. So we can say that yes, this is the natural gift. Now another example, Clean Air Act is an example of legal value. That legal value, law said that we want the clean air to survive. Where is the clean air? But it is having the legal value associated with air, nature's free gift. An instance for aesthetic value, if you are taking the example, resource 2 can be a holiday resort. We have to go to the holiday resort when we are getting the summer vacation. We will certainly go to the resort. And that resort, what they are giving us? They are giving us the enjoyment, peace, and that is the holiday resort is having the aesthetic value. Now you can understand what is the legal value when the law turned, what is the economic value when their price hike, what is the aesthetic value when they are giving you something peace. Now people also entertain with the beauty of nature or wilderness only when they have place to stay, eat and rest comfortably. So ethical value signifies to some moral percepts. Man is said to be a rational creature. He gets some virtues by living in harmony with the nature and as well as other following. But what we have to, sometime what we do beta, we disrespect the nature. We are going to pollute the nature. But the nature is having its ethical value. We have to maintain that ethical value. So these are the 4 values of the resources. At present, the ethical value of resources is of great significance because we are not applying this. The resources having legal, ethical and aesthetic value are also known as non-utilitarian resources. Now we are discussing the feature of resources. What are the features? The earth in the very inception was a barren planet. However, with the passage of time, human being came to live on the earth. Most of the natural blessings are already present on the earth. Earth is the life planet. Even at this stage, vast variety of resources such as forest, fertile plains, plateaus, mountains, coastal region, deserts, they are having the great value to the men. They became useful when the human is going to discover them, when human is discovering their value, when human is going to change them into their satisfaction needs, then they are having the value. So that's why the nature is giving us the free gift. But now this is the man who had to decide whether I have to use the resources properly or whether we have to over exploit them. Now see, in our natural world may still be unknown to men. There are so many things which we don't know about, what happened in the nature, what are there. But human being have or have not the technology and skill. If we are having a technology and skill, we can identify them, we can utilize them. If we don't have technology, we cannot identify them. So material can be called a resource if it is going to satisfy few things. Number 1, the material should capable to transform into the useful thing that I have previously told also. It should exist in sufficient quantity to be exploited for use. Then third, it should have certain properties. Then man can acquire the technology and skill to make use of thing as a resources. So if these properties are fulfilled, then only you can convert the thing into the resources. Now, factors which are affecting the use of resource. How we are going to use the resource? Number 1, skills and technology. Whether the technology is available, human skills play a very important role for an efficient use of resources. It was in this process that sedentary agriculture or farming of land at a fixed location also developed. Men did not have need to move from one place to another in search of food these days. Because we are having a skill, we are having a technology to utilize the land at a particular place for the cultivation, for the industrialization, for our use. So that is the skill and technology. Second, the cost. Cost involved in the development of extraction and transportation form the most critical component affecting the use of resources. Sometimes what happens, beta, it becomes cheaper to import a particular resource from another places rather than extracting the resource from the country. If in our country extraction or transportation is very expensive as compared to import that thing from the another country, so we are not going to extract that, we will import that. So it depends on the cost also, economic status also, whether the thing is going to be converted into resource or not. Then third, transportation and communication. That also we need to check. It also play a very crucial role in the area. For example, Siberia, which is in the Russia, has huge resources, but due to the lack of transportation and communication, these resources are still not exploited, not in use. It is only recently that human settlement have appeared in some parts of Siberia. So as a result, some roads, communication facilities have developed, and now these days resources are also going to be exploited there. It means if the country does not have developed transportation and communication, so we cannot extract the resources. Then fourth factor that affect the use of resources, adequate deposit. We need to check wherever we are going to extract the resources, finding the resources, whether they are in the adequate amount or not. For example, iron ore deposit in Chota Nagpur area can be exploited at the commercial level because they are having the abundant reserves of iron ore. But if you can see in Delhi we can extract the iron ore, no. So there we cannot find. So adequate deposit should be there. Then after that we have to see the industrialization also. It is the industry which make the use of resources as a raw material and turn them into the useful product. If we don't have the developed industries or industrialization is not there, then raw material will suffer. If it is perishable, then we cannot use. So industrialization should be there, because in industry, through the industrial process, we convert the raw material into the useful products. That is also very good. Now, next what we have to see, time. The value of resources also changes with the time. It does not change, it may make resource redundant. For example, Northern New England, USA, used pine tar and tall timber for constructing the house and to develop settlement. With changes over the time, these resources were used by English Navy for shipbuilding. So see, with the passage of time, the use of resource also changed. Previously the timber were using for the shipbuilding, now it is using for the settlement. So even after the settlement were established, the resources continue to be the strategic value. So other factors भी हैं इसमें, like specialization, trade, international cooperation, availability of motive power like electricity also affect the development and use of resources. Now see one example, the small country like Japan is today an industrial advanced country. Why? Because Japan specializes in some chosen field like motor cars and now in textile too. So that's why it's a developed country. Now we are going to discuss about the kind of resources. See, when we have to study the resources, we need to classify them. So first of all, we do the classification on the basis of origin. On the basis of origin, the resources can be classified into the natural resource and as well as the human resource. अब natural resources are also classified into two types, that is the biotic and abiotic resources. Biotic resource means those resources who are having the origin or birth from the bio, means from the living things like forest product, agriculture, animal, bird, flora, fauna, marine life, etc. That is biotic resource. Abiotic resources are those resources who are having origin from the non-living things like minerals, iron ore, copper, metal, land resources, etc. Now the another on the basis of origin is the human resource. These are the human beings who are made valuable through education, training, skill, experience, or you can say that they may become capable of making use of other resources efficiently. Now, based on renewability, origin के बाद we are going to discuss about the renewability, or you can say exhaustibility. On the basis of exhaustibility or renewability, we can classify the resources into two things: renewable resources and non-renewable resources. Renewable resources are those resources which can be renewed after the use. They are not going to exhaust it. For example, air, water, forest, soil, etc. This is renewability is possible only under certain condition. Some trees may also take longer time to grow. For example, it takes 50 to 200 years of a tree to grow in a forest. But yes, of course, those who cannot easily exhaust and renew, that are known as renewable resources. Solar energy is the great example of renewable resources. Then आपका water energy. So these are the renewable resources. Non-renewable resources are those resources who are going to be exhaust once they are used. Means after the use they can finished. They take millions of years to form. For example, fossil fuel, petroleum, gas, coal, other minerals, they are the non-renewable resources. Now the third classification on the basis of the utility. On the basis of use or utility, we classify the resources into the energy resource and raw material. आपका coal, gas, petroleum, water power, and even certain minerals like uranium, they are used to generate the electricity or as fuels for transport for vehicle. That's why they are known as the energy resources, because they help to run the machine. Second is the raw material, minerals, vegetable, agriculture products, animal, etc. from where we get the raw material for production of the goods. So they are acting as a raw material, not as a finished good. And by using these raw material, we are making the finished goods. So they are known as the raw material. Now, other classification based on ownership. On the basis of ownership, we classify the resources into individual, community, national and international resources. Individual resources are resources which are owned by the private individual or group of individual. For example, the land owned by a person. You are having your flat, you are having your own land, you are having your own private car. Or so sometimes these resources which are owned by the person, individual person or group of person, that is known as individual resources. Community owned resources are those resources which are used by the member of all community. For example, public park, public transport हो गया आपका, public playgrounds हो गए, public पंचायत घर जो बनता है, that is in the rural area. These are the community owned resources, means where the all community member can utilize it. Then national resources देखा जाए बेटा तो legally or logically all the resources belong to the nation. But yes, now we are having right to property, so we have purchased and now they converted into the individual or community resources. So what left in the national resources, that is your mountain, rivers, mines, railway, etc. That is the national resources in these days. And even the water resource, the sea, the country who are nearby the sea or who are having the border with the sea or ocean. So 22.2 kilometer of ocean water is under the national resource. Never the whole sea, never the whole ocean. Always 22.2 kilometer of ocean water is come under the national resource. Then after national resource, we are having the international resources also. These resources are owned by the international institution like United Nations or other regional international organization होती हैं. For example, and this is open for the whole world. For example, oceanic resources beyond 200 kilometer of exclusive economic zone belong to the many nations. For example, India can mine manganese nodule from the bed of Indian Ocean within the economic zone. So these beyond 200 kilometer ocean gave the open way to the member of other other countries of the world. Now, After the classification and type of resources, we are going to discuss the resources on the basis of development. On the status of development, we classify the resources in the potential, actual and reserve resources. Potential resources are those resources beta which are having the potential to satisfy the human need. They are present in the nature, their quantity and quality is also good, but right now they are not fully developed. So that's why in the present we cannot utilize them. For example, the wind energy in Rajasthan is not fully developed till now, so we cannot use, but it is having a potential to become the resource in future. So potential resources which are not fully developed in present. So right now we cannot use them. Second actual resources होता है. Actual resources are those that have been surveyed, their quantity, quality, everything is surveyed and now in present we are using them. We are utilizing them, that is actual resource. Then third is reserve. It is a portion of the potential resources which can be exploited and developed economically in the stages. So reserve technology makes it possible to convert a resource into the reserve, but reserves are like actual deposit from which withdrawal can be made. So you can say that reserve we can save for the future generation. Right now we are not using, we are having a technology, we know how to use it, but we have saved for the future. The development of these resources proceeded in 3 stages. Whatever we have discussed, potential, actual or reserve, that depend on the 3 stages. One is the survey. It is used in establishing the location of resource. It is followed by exploration. Means first you need to do the survey of the local area, of the local resources. Then after you can explore. Once the survey finished, then we have to do the extraction, mining. The method of extraction of mineral resources from under the ground is known as mining. So survey ke baad mining we have to do. And then third is ore. Minerals or their combination are found in the beds or seas which are called the ores. Metals and non-metals are obtained from the ores only. Means ore is not a purifying form which we are using. From ore we are processing the things into the resources. So this is the development of the resources. Now we are going to discuss about the factors that contribute to the development of resources. See beta, the human, they are going to affect the use of resources. So resources contribute to the higher economic growth by raising efficiency, enhancing the productivity. So there are some factors which contribute to the development of resources. Number 1 factor is the human resource. Human resource are the most essential for the development of anything, for the development of any resource, for the conservation of the any resource. If human is not there na, so there is no value of resource. So it is only through the training, knowledge, productivity, better health, education, high expectation, skill, etc. Then only the human can convert themselves into the human resource, and then human resource will use the other resource. So number 1, technology. Technology meaning the best way to make or making things is an important contributor to enhance the productivity. So technology is there. It is a way. It is going to tell us how to use. Then self-governing institution, especially the democratic institution like Panchayati Raj institution, they motivate the worker at the grassroots level to raise the productivity. So when we are having the local self-governing body, they can easily work out on them. Then stability and the peace should be there. Then only you can develop the resource. If there is a political stability, proper law and order, peace in the society, then only you can work on the resources development. After that, free market economy. In recent year, India has gradually opened its market, opened its economy to all international MNCs, open for the competition. It exposes the farmers and worker to the higher standard of work and raising their productivity, because now all world market is open for the India. So it means the free market of economy also develop the resources. Now we are going to discuss why there is a need to conserve the resources. Conservation is the main topic of the chapter, and in every term in your life you learn this word conservation these days. The term conservation of resources does not only mean their preservation or the protection of the resources, but also conservation means these days the efficient and judicious use of resources, not to overexploit the resource. Do the sustainable development, use them wisely and in judicious manner. So beta, there is a need to conserve the natural resources because these days population is very high and the resources are very limited. So we need to use in the judicious manner, and we know very well that without resources we cannot survive. We are connected with every resources, whether it's the flora, whether it's the fauna, whether it's the living, whether it's the non-living, metal, minerals, etc. We need every resources. So there is a need to conserve the resources to meet the present day demand. Several methods have been used to conserve the resources. For example, biotic and abiotic resources हैं. These including the creating political institution like enactment of rules, regulation, involvement of NGOs, creation of special protected areas. These days we are celebrating the 50 years of Project Tiger. We have started the Project Tiger to save the tigers. So see, everything is having their own value, and we can take several steps, several methods to protect or to conserve the resources. Now moving to the sustainable development and the role of United Nations. When I am talking about the sustainable development, beta, sustainable development means the development which is not going to harm the environment, means without harming the nature. Number 2, to meet the present day demand, and number 3, to save for the future generation. When we are fulfilling these 3 ideals, then it is the sustainable development. Means do the development without harming the nature, don't compromise with the present need, and save for the future generation also. For this we are having so many Earth Summit. United Nations has taken the initiative also in September 2002. The second Earth Summit was held in the Johannesburg in South Africa. World Summit on Sustainable Development was focused on economic development of regeneration of the resources. Even United Nations also sponsored the first Earth Summit in 1992, which was held in the Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. Its theme was environment and development. So conference turned out to be the largest in the world leader. There they fixed the Agenda 21, where they aimed at the sustainable development, and they had given that every country has to make their own local Agenda 21 in their own country to achieve the target of to remove the global poverty or global warming, environment को save करना, marine life save करना. So these all project work out. It was not at this conference that the Convention of the Biodiversity was signed. It helped the members nation, even including India also, to evolve national conservation strategies. So objective of national conservation strategy are to promote judicious use of resources. Because see, resources so we have to use, but in the planned manner, in the judicious manner. So it suggested that economic development should have environment at the first and foremost aim. Environment should not harm at any cost. So on the basis of the principle of sustainable development, we need to use the resources in a way as to live in the peace and harmony with the nature. Any conflict between the man and nature, it will be the disastrous. It should avoid, otherwise we have to face many disasters in the future. Now see, you can see the table where the difference has been given in the economic development and sustainable development. What we are doing the economic development, but the demand we have to do sustainable development. Number 1, economic development governed by demand and supply only, but sustainable development governed by the concern of protection and preservation of environment. Number 2, economic development refer to change in amount and composition and rate of growth, progress, distribution, consumption of resources. But sustainable development refer the exploitation of resources at the rate not above that of renewable of these resources. Then third, it only refers to the human progress. Economic development only see the human progress, but sustainable development based on respect and care of all forms of life in the nature. So that's end for the chapter. Let's do the quick revision. Number 1, all the materials of our environment with which we satisfy some or other need is called the resources. Resources can be classified into the natural and human made, and resources are having the 4 values: economic, ecological, religious and social value. Then resources are made more valuable by processing out them into the finished good to be used by the consumer. Then Japan had become the rich nation and developed country with the help of its human resource by developing the enterprises and skill. And some animals and plants have extinct from the earth due to the over exploitation. So we need to conserve them. So that's end for the chapter. I hope you understand. Please do the exercise carefully.